September 18th, and the time is 5:32. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, and Stephanie, can you do the roll call?
Certainly. Jerry Young.
I'm here.
All right. Commissioner Bogue.
Here.
Commissioner Nemeth.
Here.
All right. Well, we are good for now, and we'll get Emma when she gets here.
All right. Jeb and Jeff, you should have gotten copies of the agenda. And so could I get, are there any changes, additions, anything like that? Hearing none.
No.
Okay. Could I get a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
And second?
Second.
Thank you. Now we can have a vote. Everybody that approves, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you. So it carries unanimously. It's approved unanimously. So now we have our first public commentary, and this is for agenda items.
Yes. So if there's any members of the public that would like to participate, you can press *9 on your phone. And once I see you raise your hand, you can participate. And I am seeing a raised hand. All right, you can unmute, state your name before you provide your comment. Just need to unmute yourself. Not sure if I can do it.
Oh,
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Yes.
All right. This is Carlene Gates, and I saw one of the items is the stall move up, and I was talking to an annual vendor who wants to change stalls, and the person said that they have to change one stall at a time. And so I was reading through the rules here. I was on the commission when those were adopted. And it says at the bottom when the dailies and the add-on stalls are that you have to do those one at a time. But it says that annual vendors who wish to relocate their stalls and parking shall be reassigned stalls and parking based upon availability and order of seniority. And the idea when that was adopted, and it doesn't say in that annual part that it's one stall at a time. It says number 4, each annual vendor shall be permitted to relocate only once during the move up day. And the idea was that they could move their whole stalls all at once if there was a spot that they could go to. That's just a comment I wanted to make. And I'm not sure what's been happening during the actual move ups because I've not been attending, but they may have misunderstood it. But I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Carlene. Yeah, I think that I did misspeak, and I was conflating that you can only do it once with the one at a time. But no, we have been doing it correctly this whole time. I just must have said that incorrectly in the moment. Thanks for pointing that out. All right. I'm not seeing any other members of the public currently looking to provide comment.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Carlene, for that public comment. Our next item is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Are there any changes, additions, any clarifications for the minutes from our August meeting? Hearing none, could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thanks,
Second.
Jeff. And thanks, Jeb, for that second. Now we have the vote. So everybody that approves, either raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Great. I think that's unanimous again. All right. So we should move on to regular business items. And these are the general updates. Speaking of vendor stall move up, that's the first item.
All right. What a timely comment. Yeah, so this Saturday after market is the annual vendor stall move up. To get people prepared, I've answered many questions to folks about which stalls are available. I've also shared that information to the public email list of all the vendors. I've also shared the rule extract with everyone just so that people can remember, because again, it's always very hard to keep things straight when we do it once a year. And having to review in advance is just part of the process. I know there have been some questions around the passing of Marvin Parker and whether or not a transfer of seniority would be happening. I spoke with his sister on Saturday and did confirm they will be keeping their stalls and they will be going through the transfer of seniority process. They have 90 days to do that, to submit the application, and I will be giving it to them to move forward. So that did not impact the plan that we had already had for there being 12 open stalls and 6 vendors gaining their seniority, 5 producers and 1 artisan. I don't know if anyone had any specific questions or comments about that.
So Stephanie, I know some of the vendors don't use email and don't have email. So I just wanted to make sure that the map and things like the logistics got communicated with those vendors as well.
Yeah, I mean, I actually printed out a copy of everything for the Shettlers. I spoke with them in person as well on Saturday. And yes, anyone that has asked me, I have provided them with that information as well. And during the process, everyone will get that info too.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions? You guys have more experience with stall move up than I do. Alrighty, hearing none, let's move on to the next item, which is staffing.
All right. All right. So as of right now, we have selected a new candidate for our assistant market manager position. I just forwarded the paperwork that HR requested over to them today. So we hope to have that process completed by October 1st. I'm being optimistic because I know that HR is very overextended at the moment. So, you know, we're on their timeline now. But the candidate is Jade Whitaker-Mitz, who is a U of M student, who is an Argus Farm Stop staff person, very knowledgeable about food systems, very enthusiastic, asked great questions about our market food assistance programs, things that, you know, work there, you know, just seems great. Helpful also, is just a close friend of Assistant Market Manager 3, Lunia Oriol, but she insisted on recusing herself from the process, so was not involved in any of the hiring. But, you know, I think it's going to be a seamless transition as well, because this is already somebody that is known by market staff. So, as I said, we're on HR's timeline now. It just depends on when they will be processing their background checks and all of the extra I-9 forms and all the things that they have to do before they are cleared to start with us. I hope that October will be the time, which does unfortunately mean their 2 months off will be August and September, but that could not be helped. And that is also why we're going to have that 4th position that's doing double duty as an inspector, as well as filling in for market staff when we are short-staffed. And we did have a really strong candidate in our interview process that we are hopeful that they would actually be good for that role, but we have not moved any further forward than, you know, speaking to them in an interview about the possibility. And HR did let us know that we don't have to have a separate process. We could actually use the same pool of candidates if we wanted to hire the next process. So that's very helpful, you know, because it's a lot for us to get it approved and through the system and, you know, screening everyone all over again. So that is good news, and more information coming soon, because of course we don't want to have them hired right away, because then their time off will overlap with the time off that we need for them to cover. So that is where we currently are with market staffing. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
So for that fourth position, is it something that you have to advertise again, or can you just say the job description's close enough to what you're already hiring for, and then use that pool of applicants that you
That
had
is,
from?
yeah, option 2 is what HR is suggesting.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. All right.
But
great.
again, it all depends on if a candidate can wait that long or not.
Mhm. And how many applications roughly did you have for the staffing position that you're
Ooh, that's a
hiring
tough
for?
one.
Just a ballpark.
I want to say 20,
Great,
somewhere around there, maybe more. It's hard to
great.
remember.
That's
There's a lot.
fantastic.
So
Great. And
yeah,
if,
there was a lot of interest, and honestly, some of the most interesting candidates are people that like used to work for the USDA or used to do agricultural aid work and stuff. And so we did get not just a lot of candidates, but a lot of like incredibly qualified or maybe even overqualified people. So that was also part of this round too.
that's great to hear. And if HR can't get the paperwork done by October 1st, do they do mid-month hirings, or do you have to wait till November 1st?
It's as it comes. It could be any day
Okay,
of the week. Yeah, there's no cyclical nature for the process that they use.
any
And
other?
whenever the date of hire is, I should say, that is what locks in the 2 months off that they will have later on. So the 10 months starts running from that official date of hire once the process is complete.
Okay, great. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. Now we're on to marketing, outreach, and events.
Okay. Well, as you may or may not know, last night was our September food truck rally. And we had 17 food businesses in attendance. That included 10 food trucks and then 7 food carts, which includes both food carts and pop-ups. Attend. We had wonderful weather. Every chair and table that we put out for people to use got utilized. I think it was maybe even a little hot for some folks. So that was an interesting one. We thought we were going to have a musician or not have a musician because we'd had a cancellation earlier in the week. But I was actually able to talk to the musician that played during market hours yesterday and ask him to come back for the event. And that worked out and he really enjoyed it. Additional attendees we had was the Ecology Center, helping people sort their trash to get us closer to a zero waste event, as well as Give 365 was there with volunteers, and this was wonderful, a wonderful change. We actually had 2 volunteers help with setup, meaning helping us put up all the chairs, tables, signs, etc., trash area, and then we had 3 people helping break down. And then there was 1 person who was at the event like the whole time, and they did a really great job picking up trash and sweeping some areas of the market. So that was a little unexpected. We didn't realize that they were coming, and then there they were, and it was awesome. So we hope that this is going to be something moving forward that we'll have a little bit more of a streamlined support for, to have the city organized volunteering to help us with that, because it was a really big deal. And especially now when we are short staffed, having to do market, then the food truck rally, it's a 12-hour day for both of us. And then on top of it, that means one person has to do all the setup in the morning at market, and then the other person has to do all the takedown after the rally. So wonderful addition for that food truck rally event. I don't know if anyone has any specifics about that before I move on to some of our other events, outreach, etc.
That's fantastic that you had those volunteers. How does that get coordinated? Like, do you coordinate it? Does Parks coordinate it?
It's within the Give 65 um, branch of Parks, which has rebranded, but they still had all that messaging as that being their name. But no, it's coordinated internally within Parks. Um, and basically someone asked me, "Hey, are there things that you need volunteer support for?" And how they do it is that they put out a like request for volunteers, and it's all whether or not people answer the call, if they get people, and they go from there. And it's the same process that we use for putting up the holiday lights. They've been coordinating that for a few years too, with the exception of the year that Jeb, Hannah, and I did it ourselves, um, due to a staff transition in that department. But yes, that's how it works for that.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions about the rally? Cool. Well, continuing that theme then of events and volunteering, we have a trick or treat at the market scheduled for the last Wednesday of October. And that should be really great because that's another time we are partnering with another person within Parks. In the years past, we used the same organization, Give 365, that I was talking about before. But there had been sort of like an internal restructuring within Parks of volunteerism and Parks events in particular. And I don't mean Parks events as in like people renting a park. I mean Parks led events. So things like, pop-up dog park or Halloween on the river or things like that. So with that said, the new person that's spearheading that is really interested in taking the lead on this trick or treat at the market event. So we hope that it will be a little bit more involved than in years past. Because when it's just market staff, like we really only have the capacity to put out some candy stations, maybe have some pumpkins, and that's pretty much it. So we're looking forward to branching out and partnering with them too.
That sounds exciting.
Yes, so it should be really great. Other September events that we successfully navigated, we had our final cooking demo of the year, the second Wednesday of the month, so last Wednesday, and that was with Alex of Ukrainian Homemade Food and his wife Irina, and that was really great. They made crepes, so Ukrainian style crepes with a lot of different market ingredients. And we basically had like a pop-up crepe factory at market. They just kept making more and more and more, and they were giving samples to everybody, and we were passing them out. And in that particular one, I played a more active role than I usually do with the cooking demos, and that is because of their limited English, that I was helping, put samples out. I was helping communicate their message to folks. But it seemed to be a really big success, and people were very excited. They even made crepes using Alex's own honey, because if you don't know, he's also a beekeeper. And sometimes they sell their honey at their stalls as well. And it is also in their famous honey cake, which is one of their sweets that people love. So that was really wonderful. But that has wrapped for the year. We had thought about maybe doing an October installment, but it is a big undertaking to be able to put that together because of all of the food safety requirements that we have to do, given our new setup. For folks that may not remember, we had to resubmit our cooking demo food safety plan because of the demolition of the market office. So had to do a lot of changes there. So it is like more of an involved undertaking than it was when we actually had running water in a building, is what I will say. But anywho, we were able to navigate that and, are fully in compliance for folks that may wonder. That was what was going on. And then in terms of other, marketing outreach stuff, we have been constantly getting a lot of requests for people wanting to do pop-up events at the market, right? For example, we had the Mott's Children's Hospital come to market yesterday, and they were doing a survey about, I think it was childhood age group seizures and getting people involved, connected with medicine, things like that. So we're continually getting a lot of, inquiries and outreach that way. Lots of people still asking if we are taking new vendors, which we, of course, still are not. Still a lot of people asking without us even doing any outreach, I guess, is the other side of this. And then marketing, just some same basic program of our social media. Edible Wow should have a new issue coming out soon that we submitted our advertisement to. And then, of course, listing all of our events in the Observer, like we usually do. And then the last event I should mention before I forget, because it wasn't us as the primary, but we were a clear, strong partner, was the local food festival, which was on the Thursday a couple weeks ago. And, it was very well attended. It had there was a really popular produce tasting that we helped facilitate. And by we, I mean me. It was cutting a lot of produce for that. But then, yes, there was cooking demos, all sorts of other stuff. So I think that was a really great event that happened at the market as well. Does anyone have any questions? I know that was a lot of elements there.
Hearing none. Thank you for that update. I was at the local food fest and enjoyed it a lot. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
yeah, it was nice to see the increased attendance and the increased information getting out around it. So I thought it was
Yes.
a nice event.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So the next item is grants and research.
All right. So I have really great news to report. I probably mentioned before that the USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program grant that we were working on with MSU, we had devised a plan to pivot because we had not really gotten that much research as much as they had wanted with the previous strategy, which was sending a mailer offering new customers a $5 token incentive for them to come shop at the market. And the research lead, Phil Warsaw from MSU, he decided to change the focus and send it to students. And we had an incredibly positive response 2 Saturdays ago, September 6th. We had, I think, it was like the cap was 100 students could come through. And actually, you know what? I think it was 200 students. Yeah, it was 200 students and $10 each that they were able to get. And after we reached that threshold, it was cut off. And we reached that threshold around 12:30 p.m. Also, all of this was distributed that day. And it was a really wonderful day for market. There was great weather. There was an evening game. There was amazing amounts of vendors there. All the stars aligned, I think, for that one. And we did actually have to turn some people away that are like, I heard you're still giving out free tokens. That has ended. And I've also noticed too, there are some vendors that have been sharing like the old flyer that said, bring this to the office, you'll get a token. All the money is gone. It is distributed. So that is not still going on, although I know there's been a few people asking still about it recently. But the good news is we got a lot of new students down that had never come to market before. We captured data from them. And yeah, you might have seen Ari at market, who is the daughter of Richard and Deb from Tantre. And she just coincidentally was one of the people that was hired to work in this grant. So that was also a really cool moment of kind of coming full circle with our vendors also being directly related to this promotion program. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, so it's, we turned a sort of dismal response into a very successful response. And hopefully a lot of those students will keep coming back.
Yeah, I just want to do one correction. I think it was 100 students. That's at least what the
Okay.
flyers
Okay.
said. Yeah.
That makes sense. It was just hard. It's just hard to remember because they gave us 2 different amounts of funding.
I believe the first
Mhm.
one was 200 people at $5. And the
You're right.
second one
Yep.
was upping the amount, but less people. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, you're right. My mistake. Yes, but we could have easily hit 200 if we had had the money. Honestly, given how many people kept coming and requesting some participation. So it was great, and they were there on site, so they took the data with them and are, I'm sure, processing it. We would love to hear some of their findings when they have more info available.
That would be great because I know several of my students came. I think Emma has students who came too, and I would love to be able to share that out with my class if we get that, since the class is on local food producers. So that would be really fantastic.
Okay.
So, good.
Awesome.
All right. Any other grants and research?
Not yet, other than actually, it's sort of, I think it kind of floats between the grants, research, marketing. It's kind of bridging the gap, but there was that MIFMA farmers market, like co-promotion thing that was going on, was a pilot. That is also over for the year. It was a very short window, so we weren't actually able to participate very much. And they're hoping that for next year they're going to extend the time frame in which it was happening, because for us, unfortunately, it fell like right when we became short-staffed and just no longer had the capacity to actually do legwork for recruitment for that. So we're hopeful that next year it will be something better. But I believe that they raised, I want to say like almost $400 through that program for various, maybe 6 or 7 different markets participated. So coming soon, again, next year, a expanded version of that MIFMA co-marketing initiative. And that's all I have for that one. If anyone has any questions or comments on that.
All right, then the next item is new PMAC members.
Okay. I scoured the city council videos and minutes to try and answer the question of, do we have new council, or sorry, do we have new PMAC members yet? I was able to find out. I know Carlene went through the first round of approvals, but they have to vote because Carlene is not a resident of the city of Ann Arbor and just needs 7 people. I could not find that they had voted again in the September 15th meeting, but I don't know like the timeline. So I'm hoping that that's going to be done soon, but I did not see it in the September 2nd or September 15th meeting, because in September 2nd it said it was pushed to the September 15th meeting, and then I didn't see it in the video, and the minutes are a little bit sparse to be able to see it. So I don't know about that. Hopefully coming soon. But I did see that Will Brinkerhoff and Marcus Flores were both nominated for approval and voted on and approved at that September 15th meeting. With that said, I need to have the go-ahead from the city clerk, and they need to show up in our Granicus software so that we can actually like include them in the minutes and stuff like this for them to be cleared. So I'm hopeful that that will be done. I don't see why it would not be done by the October meeting. But as far as I know, we have 3 new PMAC members, or 2 definitely, and a 3rd that is just waiting for the formal process to complete.
Yay!
Yay. So, but again, we're on their timeline. I'll check back in with the clerk to see if they know any more information, but they probably know as much as we do at this point.
That's fantastic. Great. Good. Once again, always let us know if we can nudge. Sounds like it's
I think it's
It's
in
moving
process.
along.
It's just a question of, just it takes time.
all right. Well, fingers crossed that they can be
And,
at the
and thank you,
October meeting.
Lisa, because I think you've been doing nudging and that probably has affected things. So thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, Actually got an email back from the mayor on the last nudge, so that was really nice to get that. So,
Cool.
all right, facilities repairs and updates.
All right. So those of you who were at market yesterday, noticed the strange triangular concrete piece that was added to the footprint of where the old office was, which is either known as Sandlot 2 or the food court or live music pavilion, or Sandlot 2, whichever one. And I did clarify why it was at that strange angle, and I guess that was sort of like the maximum amount that park operations could do themselves, without having to bid it out for concrete, because apparently the project was too small to have that. So at least it is better than it was. And I'm hoping that by Saturday they will smooth back down the gravel pile and it would be a little bit less of an issue. Part of the reason they didn't want to do the whole footprint also was because of the staging coming up that has not been 100% approved yet, but is in process for the 303 Detroit Street building, where the construction fence will be going to, where there'll be parking, cranes and things that would maybe potentially damage any concrete that we put down. So there's that, which means that is 100% complete on our demolition project. That was the last little piece we were waiting for. And now we can sort of shift gears and think more about the community engagement process of what's going to replace it and all that good stuff. And additionally, the Peace Poll, which is sponsored by Veterans for Peace, which used to be in our little pocket park. Park operations also fixed that yesterday, and they moved it to that little planter bed on 4th where there's the farmers market sign. And for those that may not know the process, Parks also deals with memorials and tributes like that. So that is something that organization has sponsored to have at the market, and we're hopeful that it wouldn't be in storage for very long. And now that is back, and I believe that Veterans for Peace will be doing some sort of like rededication ceremony that Park Ops and other Parks leadership are coordinating for folks that work on like the memorials and tributes part. So that'll happen yesterday. Yeah, and this isn't really necessarily a repairs, but if people didn't notice, prolific local chalk artist David Zinn has put an art piece at the market. And maybe I'll just throw that out there like a scavenger hunt. If people have seen it, it is a squirrel on one side and a mouse on the other. And it's more of a semi-permanent one that he coordinated with the DDA and those folks to put in the market and put more public. And I will say it is in our covered area. So he's hopeful that it will last longer than his regular chalk sidewalk art pieces, which obviously are negatively impacted by precipitation. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, comments on any of those things, but yes, go try to find it if you haven't seen it yet.
That's exciting, and that would be such a fun thing to put up some little picture of that wouldn't give it away on social media.
I have it ready in the pocket. We've just been having a lot of other things that I needed to do first, but coming soon.
Great. I think that will be a real hit with families and kids.
Yes.
That's great. Anything else on facilities and repairs or any questions? Okay. And then we have one of our favorite topics, neighborhood construction updates.
and I kind of gave it away a little bit in my other one. So we, well, I shouldn't say we, because it's not me, but Remy has been working with finalizing that shared use agreement with the folks at MABD for the 303 Detroit Street project next door. As far as I know from the plans that I have seen, the plan is still to put in a construction fence 18 feet out from the edge of the market roof, like where the old office used to be on that particular side. So if you can imagine 18 feet from there over, and then, you know, getting to that point, it's going to be the fence that's already there at the Detroit Street entrance, but just following along the side of the building and then having that bump out 18 feet out from the edge of the roof. And then they would be staging their construction from there. I am unclear still whether or not they will be maintaining a small portion of the sidewalk where the people's parking spaces are. The parking spaces will be maintained, so no folks have to worry about disrupting annual stalls. So you dodged the bullet on this one, Jeff. You don't have to be displaced again for multiple years of construction. So that's what's happening. I don't know if I mentioned it here before, but they had wanted to close down the sidewalk on 4th. The city told them that they absolutely could not do that. So it needs to be like a covered walkway that they're going to put in instead. So that's a big victory that we will still be maintaining pedestrian access on that side of 4th, as far as I know, unless something changes. But you may have noticed that they're in process of gutting the building. And there's a big dumpster on the Catherine Street side close to the filling station, where they are removing materials from the building. Additionally, we have had very little disruption other than, sometimes loud noises at the office from the other 2 construction projects in recent times. Parking, although better, it's still, I think, going to just always be a challenge in that area of trying to inform everybody that, you can't park in the lot in Wednesday Market. That's just how it is at this point. But it hasn't been as bad as far as I can tell on Detroit Street since we had the conversation with them. And that is all that I have. As of now, I have heard nothing about the Braun Court project since that initial conversation. Any questions or comments?
I'm glad that the communication seems to be going at least a little better with some of the projects as far as parking and stuff. Small victories are good. And I know it's going to be disruptive, but I'm excited that a building that's alive next to it eventually. But it has been just kind of a mostly empty derelict building for a while. So the construction's going to suck, but I think it is like ultimately good to have an alive building. Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
saw,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I just saw that the applications are out for Dunbar Tower too. So that's also exciting.
I think technically October 1st is when the wait list starts. So but yes, there's the 63 units, 32 and 31, I think is how it is for people transitioning out of homelessness, and then for the lower income so-called artists, broadly defined. Yes, coming soon.
Any other questions or comments about construction updates? Okay. Then we have producer-only subcommittee, if you have anything, Emma. No.
No, I've
Yeah.
talked with Carleen a little bit, but I guess the main update for that was is that the one staffing thing was taken care of, and that
Great. So we'll look forward to moving forward on that one. The position with the inspector is hired out. So. All right. Any other general updates?
Not that
Okay.
I have.
That brings us on to new business. The only thing I want to confirm is that we talked about last time having our next in-person meeting in November. And I know Stephanie put that in the minutes.
Mm-hmm. So of course, so that's just to clarify for people, let me get that date. It would be November 20th, so the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Okay. Great. If any other new business for anybody? Okay. Then we're on to second public comment.
All right, if there's any members of the public who would like to comment, please press *9 on your phone, and once I see your hand raised, I will call on you. Okay, give me one moment. All right. I am seeing a hand. So I will allow you to talk, and once you give your comment, please state your name in advance and go ahead and unmute.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can.
This is Debbie Marks, and I did see the David Zinn art installation at the market, and it was thrilling. It's a bonus to have two so close together. So that was a lot of fun, and I'm glad everybody's going to be looking for it. And I do hope it lasts a long time being underneath and protected like that. So I just want to, of course, say on behalf of all the market vendors, thank you all for your time and effort serving on this committee. We appreciate you all very, very much. Even though the vendors don't say it enough, thank you all, and I'll see you at the market.
Thanks, Debbie.
All right.
All
Are
right.
there any other members of the public that would like to speak? All right. I am seeing none.
All right. I think the next item is adjournment. So it is 6:15 and the meeting's adjourned.
Right.
That was almost like record time for us.
That's